Hello and welcome to another Talking Dogs on Monday. This week, of course, we'll be talking all matters Con Annie Kirby Memorial. And of course, we'll also be taking a look back at the Shelbourne Open 600 that provided such a thrilling spectacle at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. As always, I'm joined by the exiled dub, Tommy Lyons, from his Yall base. He's been, really getting stuck into his work over the last few hours. He's ready to tell me why Ballet Mcmurlin is one of the most consistent greyhounds in training. And of course, we have the bowled Joe Sheahan, a man who has not gone into a shop over the last 3 weeks without saying, "Do you know who I am?" He has been the face of Limerick racing from on Talking Dogs TV, should I say, over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Unfortunately, we missed you on Saturday night, Joe. Rumours of a broken heart were what kept you off screens, but we'll get to that again. Gentlemen, a great weekend's racing. Not just Limerick and Shelburne Park. We really are in full flight at this moment in time, Tommy. But the stars really did shine at both Limerick and Shelburne Park. Two great nights racing.
Yeah, they were fantastic, and good to see the clocks kept up to the standard that we kind of expected, and also great to see my old pal. He has to get an early mention. Brody's magic. What a greyhound!
Yeah, absolutely indeed. Joe, I know you were watching from the comfort of your own home on Saturday night. All's good with you, I hope. You're back and ready to raring to go again, I believe.
A bit heartbroken after the weekend, I was out on the Tinder date, as you know yourself, and went a few quid in her, but things didn't go too well at the end. But look, you have to keep trying, keep rocking on. Yeah, I was tuned into the action Saturday night, and it was nice in one way to watch it from where I was to see how it all plays out. And in fairness, I just saw how great Talking Dogs TV is. It's actually, in fairness, it's a fantastic production. And there's great credit due to yourself and Barry and Robbie. You done a wonderful show the other night. I did miss it. It killed me not being there. I had an awful FOMO, as they call it, fear of missing out. The action was just absolutely majestic. Shelbourne Park and the Open 600 and all the bitches and the Puppy Oaks, and then, of course, the Limerick, the Con Annie Kirby. And I'm just so thrilled with the final, the way it's played out. Literally, the cream has risen to the top, really, and it's just wonderful to see the combination of trainers and dogs that have been so impressive throughout, all going through to the final, which is always going to make a great event. And this week is going to go very, very quick in anticipation of the Con Kirby final.
Yeah, well, as always, we'll start with a review rather than a preview, although it's safe to say that the trap draw has thrown up a more open final that we were probably guessing we would have a minute before the trap draw, shall we say. But Tommy, we'll kick off with that opening semi-final. It was Explosive Boy, who again lived up to his name. Sensational 408 to the corner, 1585 to the third bend. Absolutely paw perfect. He's really developing into a serious greyhound. I know we've only really seen him do it at Limerick, but by all accounts, he looks like the type of dog that could be a start anywhere.
Yeah, and you know what? The best thing about the semi-final was that he had to do it. He had to do it right, because Agent Stanley actually broke particularly well as well. I think they both did the same early sectional, so they're both coming out of the boxes. They're coming out together. So what'll be the decider next week when we get on to preview? Who'll have that little bit extra into the bend? Explosive Boy was brilliant. He established a lead, not a huge lead, but he established a nice lead going down the back and stayed on strongly. Agent Stanley mightn't be the strongest of stayers over 5.25, but he got terrific early pace. It made it a bit of a race for a short while, but I think we always knew once Explosive Boy got around that first bend that it was all over. He is turning into a serious dog, and if he can continue to break, he had a habit of missing it maybe every 3 or 4 runs, missing the kick slightly, and if that could be costly in the final. I don't think it will be. I think he's maybe he's become a little bit more professional. Certainly, he's in the form of his life. He's doing 28.08 or 28.06 or 5 or for fun. He's hitting his standard nearly every week. So I expect that he'll be a warm enough order, despite the draw. He'll be a warm enough order next week.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. We know that you're very keen on sectionals, clocks, and that's, I think, the way that the sport will go down the road. You're part of the younger generation that really do take all those sort of metrics into equation. 408, I'd say you've only seen it a handful of times over the years. This fella's done it twice in this competition alone.
Yeah, I've been racing in the new track really since it opened, and you don't get to see that clock up on the sectional times every too often. 408 is just absolutely majestic. But look what Stone Park Leo did, 409. I mean, that's going to be very interesting next week. He threw a spanner in the works, really doing that kind of a clock in his semi-final to the first end. But 408, he's doing it so consistent. I think splits here was like 408, 411, 412. He's banging on. If he can repeat that, he's a massive chance. But as you said, lads, the draw is going to be all important here. It's roles reversed with Agent Stanley, who's in trap 1, and maybe that bit of a pitch on the inside rail could prove decisive, you know. Explosive Boy will, Agent Stanley, if he keeps coming out the way he's been coming out, you know, he's going to have, Explosive Boy is going to have to get around him. If the two of them come out as they have been coming out so consistently, Explosive Boy will still have to come around him, and it's that could be tricky and decisive.
Yeah, we did state at one point early in the rounds, Tommy, that a lot of the early pace had gone out of it. It just so happens that the early pace that was in it at that point has remained in it. Like, we're looking at a final now where we have 3 or 4 dogs that are all capable of doing that 4:10, 4:11, 4:12, and, you know, perhaps circumstance right 4:08. You know, with Agent Stanley, with Explosive Boy, with Sing Along Sally, and even Stone Park Leo out in trap 6, there's going to be some race to the corner. Like, it mightn't be a bad race to be a dog that's going to come off the pace, you know, the likes of the Machine. You know, Ballet Mcmurlin just seems to be doing it down the back at the moment. He's far from the finished article. I've no doubt about that. There's better to come from him, but it is one of those competitions where a lot of the early pace went out early, but those that remained after the second round basically still there.
And they did that because they didn't have a lot of competition most of the way, in terms of they were getting a lead. You know, they were good enough to lead and quite comfortably so, and they didn't have a lot of competition for it. So it actually worked out nicely for those who managed to get through the second round, which I think was the key round in the competition. They stayed with the competition. Let's just say they stayed in the stake, and they're there in the final. It is interesting. I wasn't expecting Stone Park Leo to do 129 now, I'll be honest. I wasn't expecting that. Now, I know he had a good sprint on his card. That kind of surprised me. He has good early pace, but he hadn't been breaking quite like that. Ballet Mcmurlin, as you say, Ian, it is all down the back at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all down the back. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll get back to this opening semi-final. We'll do the second semi-final, and then we'll have, as long as we want to talk about the actual final itself and the dogs in this question. And this opening semi-final, we've touched on Explosive Boy. There was nothing more to say. Fast Away always led. Nice and easy to do a report. That's all I know. 2 lines, you're done. The Pat Guilfoyle train, Explosive Boy, Flash from Traps, the son of such and such, led all. In second spot, Agent Stanley. This is a greyhound that I obviously was more than familiar with than most. I probably commentated on the majority of his races in Shelburne Park. He was a nice dog in Shelburne Park, a dog that was clearly coming to himself, showing good early speed, but he just has taken off around Limerick. And for the second major final in a row at Limerick, Des and Mary Gilbert have a runner, Agent Stanley. They had a finalist in the Ledger, Laura and Don. They have Agent Stanley in the Kirby, and given the draw, listen, we'll get on to the draw in a few moments, but this fellow has a say because he has great early speed and he's running tremendously well, Joe.
Yeah, and I love one thing about Agent Stanley. He's a 1st of January 2019 whelp, which is so interesting. If it was 12 or 14 hours before, he wouldn't have been eligible. And age and experience.
I hope you're not suggesting something, Joe.
What I'm suggesting, Ian, is, as you know yourself, the older the fiddle, the sweeter the tune. And Agent Stanley's experience is really coming to the fore here. You know, I was chatting to Skip Gilbert, as you know, on Talking Dogs TV, and his first race in Limerick. That's the one interesting thing about him. He's the 1st of January 19. But in the first round, he qualified by 100th of a second. I think he was doing about 29:12, 100th of a second, as Skip Gilbert alluded in the interview. But it was his first skip around Limerick, and pardon the pun, never skip. But it was his first spin around Limerick that week. And Limerick is a tough track to run. And you know what? After his first run around it, he knew his way around, and he's just shown his class over the last few weeks, and he's progressing and he's keeping improving. And I think he's being in trap 1 there is a massive draw. And of course, in fairness to the Gilberts and as the owners, Pat Flanagan and Aaron Burkmeyer, great supporters of the game, and Skip is such a character. You know, I think everyone in the sport would love to see him win a competition of this class, and it would be great to see as well.
Yeah, absolutely. 124 the other night, Tommy. Will he be able to do a 124 from trap 1? I wonder.
Probably not. You have to think that he was a middle and a wide seed. So being drawn in where he is not ideal for him. It's probably not ideal for the competition or in the final itself in some ways.
Even if he takes a ping break by moving to the right, he's going to lose that spot or two anyway.
But even if you watch him from trap 2 in the 2 rounds that he was in trap 2, he broke quite well. He did 2 different sections, very different sections, 126, 136. If he does 136, he's out of contention. He was in kind of lane 4 by the time he got to the bend. That's kind of where he was, and that's where he will be again from trap 1. I mean, it's inevitable. That's what he's going to do. He was in middle, and he wasn't. Skippy's a clever fella. He was a middle and a wide for a reason. And I don't blame him for not wanting to be wide in Limerick. You know, it can be difficult enough, especially if you don't know the track and they're young, inexperienced dogs. I don't blame him for changing the seating there. The dog from 4 is probably ideal. Where he broke from the other day, he went up straight as a gun barrel. But from trap 1 now, he will be coming out across the track. So look, there is potential that there'll be a clash. We'll worry about that when we talk about the preview. But like it's in one way, it's a perfect draw, because it makes what a final should be competitive and difficult to win. But in another way, it's a bit of a shame, because it's not to his best advantage, and it's not to anybody else's advantage either that he's in trap 1. So
yeah, no, I hear you. If let's say Explosive Boy was in 2 in the final, Sing Along Sally 3, and Agent Stanley at 4, you know, dream makeup. But I'm sure they would have settled for trap 1 in the final if you'd offered them before the opening round, shall we say. The third finish there was Ballet Mcmurlin. We did touch upon him. He showed great pace down the back straight. As I said, I don't think he's far. I don't think he's finished Article. He's only had the 7 starts he's had now. He is very good down the back straight. He's probably not starting well enough and not coming home well enough, but you know, he still had to do a bit of running to hold on from the likes of Bombardier the other night. He's in the final, and it is one of those finals where there is a potential for a lot of traffic on the inside. And he is on the outside, is probably where I suppose his best chance in a contest of this nature would be.
He's going to get a solo, isn't he? You know, Stone Park Leo is going to stay where he stays. But Sing Along Sally being in on top of them in a matter of stride. So it's going to get a good run. I liked the other night in this run. I liked the fact that when Bombardier was diving inwards, about halfway up to the bend, Bombardier went in. He showed a nice little bit of acceleration to actually clear him into the bend. And I thought actually he ran better than I expected. He's just not finishing out his races well enough yet. Yeah,
he's coming though, Joe. He's a greyhound for the future rather than the present, perhaps.
He's coming home in Limerick in around 12:25, which is, I mean, it's a fair skipping from the third bend home to come home in 12:25. And look, he's young, and as you say, he's improving, and you know there's even room to improve there. And I think the Dowlings have to be massively respected when they come to the final. Of course, they won the Classic around Limerick in 2019 with Ballymac and Tan for the Friends of Limerick Ledger. And of course, when the Dowlings come, you know, they're going to have this dog fresh as a daisy for this Saturday night and this Kirby final. You know, he's a dog. I know he's an outsider of the field, but and you know the Dowlings brought down such a massive hand. He probably wasn't the one of the more likely ones to get to the final, but you know he's 28:40 on the clock and 4 or 5 length improvement, which can happen in the pup. I wouldn't write him off completely. You know, as I said, he's going to get a bit of a soul. And it's a final that there's 100 different outcomes that could happen. There's 100 different ways this final could play out, and you just never know. Of course, I'd probably put him down as maybe perhaps a lively outsider.
Yeah, just the 3 that didn't qualify there. Bella Medina Roxy was racing from trap 2. She picked up an injury in defeat the other night. She'll be out for 6 to 8 weeks. It's nothing too serious. Kevin Loughnane was in contact, hoping to have her right for the Oaks. She is a bright prospect. She's only in October 19, of course. You know, so you know she really is a baby. Like she's given 10 months to Agent Stanley. Like it's an awful lot at this stage in their racing career. This daughter of Dorota's Woohoo and Cabra Roxy. She's well bred. She'll improve again. We have no doubt about that. It'd be great to see her again in the year. Mallogs Marley just didn't happen for him the other night. He seemed to be a dog that was coming back into himself, that 28-30 form around Clonmel, should I say. He was starting to show that sort of, but just the other night just didn't happen for him. And Bombardier was a lovely pitch on the back, and he was coming. Again, checked slightly at the third bend, lads. I've noticed that. That's 2 or 3 weeks now he's after doing that. But I'm sure Pat Buckley will find the right distance for him and the right track. And I think there's a big competition in him. I just don't know what trip it's going to be over. Gentlemen, Joe, I'll lead with yourself.
Yeah, well, Bombardier is a dog that's been coming home, and one of his best clocks coming home was around 12 seconds. And along with the machine, the 2 of them are probably the strongest stayers in the race from the third bend home. And that's definitely a notable point. I mean, he's a dog that definitely get 550, as you say, just hard to know his distance, but he's a powerhouse up from the back straight and from the third bend home, you know, so he's definitely an exciting prospect. And of course, that race he won in 28:31 was a massive performance. Just a week after, he didn't really fly the way he flew the previous week when he ran the 28:31, but he's definitely a dog with a massive future. And as you say, Pat Buckley will definitely find his rhythm with him and his optimum distance as he goes on, but definitely a likely one for the future. And Bella Medina Roxy, she's a bitch I really, really love. October 19, probably the youngest in the competition, I'd say. But she ran with some credit over the last few weeks for Steve Pennell and Kevin Loughnane, and she's a very, very exciting prospect. Yeah, she picked up an injury, unfortunately, the other night, but she's a bitch with a very, very exciting future.
Yeah, Tommy, of the three that went out, which would you like to own?
Quite likely Bombardier is just is a dead inside railer. I mean, his run came out of trap 1. The other night he was cutting in. The other nights in from 3 when he was drawn in the middle as well. He was doing the same thing. He was positioned to qualify the other night, but actually, what Joe was saying, and it's right, that he's clearly doing big clocks form, because he was beaten a half a length, which surprised me for third place. And only 2 strides he's in front. He literally is coming home that quickly. He's absolutely devouring the ground. So I think he needs it inside for the moment anyway, until he matures as a racer. He definitely needs the inside. Maybe he'll forever need it. He'll need the trap 1 to really show his best. Trap 5 was a tricky draw last week. He actually wasn't. He was a shade unlucky. I mean, he's gone out doing 28.52. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's just something in me. Pat Buckley, Javier Jarne, they won a Corn Cullen before with Javielenko. I have a feeling he's a dog. Good starter. Get to the corner over 750 yards. I think he'll keep going. I think he'll stay it. I think he could be a real star over sixpence.
Are you slightly concerned then that he mightn't have the little bit of middle pace for 525, 550, and that he can hold his position over longer?
Yeah, I've gone on record as saying that I think his flat spot is down the back straight. See what Ballet Mcmurlin did into the third bend to him the previous night. And he checked up his stride there. He lost a lot of ground, but I just think that's. Don't get me wrong. He's as fast as most down the back, but against the very, very best, that's going to be his weak point of the contest, because he's a good trapper, probably not flying into the bend, but has enough early speed to hold his own, and then he absolutely hammers home. I think he's just, I think the Corn Cullen this year maybe come too soon from, stranger things have happened, but I think he's a dog that could really, really star of a sixpence in the future. We'll move on to the second heat. There was only 5 of them, of course. Vallegro, desperate luck for the Heffernans. Van trouble. They just broke down. Didn't get to the track in time. There's no allowing for it. You know what I mean? How early do you have to set off? I don't know at what point they realized, sugar, we're not getting this van started again, and they just had to give up. Or I don't even know if they made the track or not. Joe, do you have any insight into that?
I heard that they travelled the old road down, which is strange, because Robert Gleeson would have been travelling down that way, and even Talking Dogs TV presenter Barry Call, I'm sure he wouldn't have seen him stuck if he was passing down, throw the dog in the back seat of the car.
I actually think Barry Call did pass them, believe it or not, but just thought they were emptying the dogs and drove on.
It's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking. Terrible. Look, to go out like that, you don't want to see it. Don't get me wrong, it was a tough enough heat, and the way it was run, he may not have qualified anyway, but you never know, and it's that not knowing is the worst thing about it. When it did come down to it, Stone Park Leo, a friend of yours, Mark O'Donovan from your UL days, Joe, he's really brought this dog on. He was a real eye catcher in the opening round of the Kirby, but if you'd said to me he'll be in trap 6 in the final and there with a cracking chance after winning a semi-final from the likes of Sing Along Sally, Ballet Mcmurlin, The Machine and Luminous Light, I'd have said, I'm not sure we're going to get that far with him this early in his career, but he has taken giant strides in a matter of weeks, and he's there with a big chance in the final from an ideal draw.
Absolutely massive, to be honest. 25-25 run. I thought he would have been capable of maybe 28-40 or 28-30, but that was just phenomenal. And 409 to the bend was absolutely massive. That's huge early pace. I mean, he's in right contention to lead up. And from the draw he's in, of course, he was an inside seed for the first round, but ran out a bit wide. Of course, Mark done the sensible thing and put the middle seed on him. And he's probably one of the greyhounds who are guaranteed a probably clear passage. He's had it over the last number of weeks, and a repeat of that run will see him go very, very close. I'm delighted for Mark Donovan. Of course, he was involved with us with the UL Greyhound side. He's a passionate young greyhound man. And, there's a huge new generation, a young crop of young trainers springing up. And it's wonderful to see. And you see the likes of Mark Donovan and Emma Buckley and Margaret Bolton, Deirdre Barry, and all these young people training dogs. Jamie McGee and Ginger's grandson was just after taking out the license. It's absolutely fantastic to see, and it's really encouraging to see that the future of the sport is in good hands, that these young people keep springing up, and it'd be great to see him do well in the final. Of course, for local owners, your Dwyer family, they're from Ballyneety, they have the Stone Park dogs. They're probably one of the more recent times, probably one of the only local actual Limerick owners. I know we've Limerick trainer Pat Buckley, who's had three successes in the Kirby, but it's fantastic to see local owners get to the final as well. And I know that success would mean an awful lot, a bit extra more to them as well.
Yeah, Tommy, Stone Park Leo, he, as Joe said, he's probably guaranteed a clear run in a major final. That's half the battle.
Yeah, because we talked about the final to some degree that there's likely that they're going to come to a head along the inside. Ran particularly well. As I said earlier on, I didn't expect the 129. He has the early pace, and what I loved about the performance was those last 10 or 15 yards into the bend, where Sing Along Sally broke her fine. She didn't. What did she do? 130. She's just one spot behind him. You'd think from the draw she'd be able to get into the bend if she was that far ahead of him in ability. She's just not. He's seriously fast in the early pace department. He does lose a couple of lengths on the likes of Explosive Boy from around the bend to the third section of the 1585 against 16 seconds. That's a bit of work to do to catch up for next week.
Explosive Boy is able to maintain such an incredible stride, even though he's close to the fence. And if you're doing that, you're always going to pick up that length or two on dogs like Stone Park Leo staying middle to wide.
But that's what was so impressive then the other night against Sing Along Sally. The fact that Stone Park Leo was able to get that length into the bend, he actually forced the check slightly, and then he held his ground well for the rest of the race to actually beat her. She's obviously a seriously good bitch, so it was a really nice performance, Stone Park Leo. That's a lot more than I was expecting from him, I'll be honest about it.
Yeah, the question is, where's the ceiling? Like, does he improve again? Like, he is February 19, but he is very lightly raced. He's well bred. His son of Ballet Best. We've seen them fly over the last year or so. Like, where is the ceiling? Does he improve another length or two, or are we at a point now where we're going, he can't go much faster than he went the other night?
Will he get?
The O'Donovans have won two derbies already, so
3.
I mean, they know how to rock him for the final.
Yeah. What do you think, Tom?
I don't fancy him for the final, I'll be honest about it, but because you're trying to factor in a little bit too much trouble, in my opinion. I don't know where his ceiling is. I think that's a pretty good level. If I had a dog that could do 28-25, I think I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
29-25 would be a start.
Yeah, Sing Along Sally was second. It's notable. It was her third run in a row from Trap 1, 130, 132, 141. The night she wasn't in Trap 1, she did a 126. I said it last week. Is she one of those that will break better from the middle? We'll find out next week. If she does, this race is wide open because there's only one direction she's going. Left turn Clive. That's the way she's going to be. And things can get tight, but Tommy, do you think listen, I know it's very hard for you to answer this question, but do you think I'm right?
God, no. The only thing I was going to say earlier on, we were talking about Bombardier possibly being a 750 dog. There's your area of expertise in 6 bends and 6 bends plus. Whatever it is about it, you can see stamina in the dog, and I always have been able to do that. So I can see that maybe you're right about that, right? And if that dog wins the current Cullen, I won't be surprised, even if you're saying it's a little bit early for him. But I don't know here. She did produce. Was it her best? On the sections, I'm not certain, but certainly in the final in the Juvenile Classic, she looked. It looked a tricky draw. There was early pace inside her, and she just flew. Now, there's flying in the Juvenile Classic and there's flying in the Kirby Memorial. And you've got Explosive Boy inside you and you've got Agent Stanley inside you. She needs something extra special because as you said 2 seconds ago, she's going straight left. She wants the rails. She might 126, which she did from the middle earlier in the competition, won't be good enough.
Yeah, it won't hack it.
That won't get her clear.
That'll
actually get that'll potentially leave her a neck to half a length behind Explosive Boy if they all produce their best breaks, and that's enough to get a bump early gone. Forget about it.
Yeah, if Explosive Boy and Sing Along Sally were reversed, it probably plays more into the hands of Explosive Boy, but she's also closer to the fence. And if she did happen to just stay on his coattails, stay so tight to the fence that she might challenge off the second men, she probably has a better chance. But from the draw, she's going to, I don't know. I'm not saying she's going to struggle, but she's going to need luck, as you say yourself, Tommy. The one that did qualify behind them, it did get tight behind them, the Machine and Ballet Mcmurlin. At one stage on the back straight, it looked like the Machine was nearly going to win the race. He was, while you expect Stone Park Leo to come back, Sing Along Sally had to negotiate him. The Machine was poised in third. Ballet Mcmurlin was lengths behind the Machine. For him to even get involved in the photo finish for third spot was incredible running, but we know what he is. He's just so amazingly strong. The Machine, lads, he's in the final, and I think if you were the Matthews, you would have picked this type of final, a final with loads of early speed. The best thing he could do was probably miss the kick, sit in behind them, and then charge off the second bend.
If you remember Cable Bay all them years ago, he went through the whole Con Kirby without winning any heat, got to the final and put in a 28-11 run. I mean, the matches have to be really, really respected here in finals, to do that kind of run after not winning a heat was massive for Cable Bay at that time. And you could argue that they have similar profiles coming into the final here with the machine, but from third bend home, I was at the trial he did before racing, the 28-16 one the week before. He's only doing 4:30 to the first bend, which is it's a killer from the early sections point of view, but coming home in 12 seconds and the way he's flying home is just, it's ridiculous. Even the first round, the way he got the bump that time and ran on the way he did for the photo finish, which me and you had a bit of a hustle and tussle there Ian, with Hello Mikey that night. But from the third bend home, this dog is an
Sorry, just remind me, Joe, who's right in that one?
Even a broken clock is right twice a day, so don't get too much of us on it. But
Tom, we better move to Tommy before he says an ounce of feeding is worth a ton of, or an ounce of breed is worth a ton of feeding. The machine, Tommy. I suppose when you have 27.80 pace from the third or from the second bed home, you have to give him a chance in a final. As Joe said, he's doing 4:30 and 28.16. Like, that's unbelievable stuff. You know, when you consider like the Explosive Boy is doing 4:08. And take 22 spots off it. It's just unbelievable running.
I thought he was a tiny bit flat the other night. Did you not think that?
Fractionally compared probably to his previous route runs, maybe, but he has a week. They've won it twice before, the Matthews clan, with obviously two very different greyhounds. Boyle Sports Hero was all out front at Cable Bay, who was an absolute powerhouse. The machine is very much in the latter category, a powerhouse, but if you were on him each way 1, 2, 3, you'd be fairly confident you're collecting.
I think,
cash.
Yeah, to be honest about it, I did think he was tiny bit flat the other night, because I actually quite fancy him to win the heat. Now, of course, you have the issue of looking at his record, and it's 1 win and it's 5 runner-up finishes. So I don't know what way things need to fall for him to actually pick up the pieces fully, because the likelihood is, even though we're suggesting and suspecting that there's going to be a convergence in the middle as Agent Stanley goes out, Sing Along Sally comes in, and the Explosive Boy hopefully rockets out and actually avoids that. But the likelihood is the three of them won't all be involved in it. Something will miss it, or something will break and just escape, and there'll be a little bit of bumping and whatever else. That's the likelihood of what happens. So if the three of them did come together, of course it would be advantage. And it's huge that Agent Stanley's in trap 1, because he's going to go middle. And if he does break to the very best of his ability, which I suggest he probably he'll be close to it. He mightn't quite do his 124th, but he'll be close enough. He's professional enough to do that. He will come across. The worst thing the machine could do is break. Yeah, because he gets in all sorts of trouble if he does, because he doesn't have the early pace, the injection of pace to get clear of the trouble. He's got to avoid Agent Stanley. He's got to avoid Sing Along Sally. Explosive Boy will be fine unless he's forced in on top of him. So yeah, I don't know what way it has to break, but I respect the pace he showed in the 28-15 night, was it? The night did he chase down? Yeah,
he nearly caught Explosive Boy that night.
Yeah, that was insane ability. That was ridiculous ability. That's Derby class ability. Like, that's proper Derby final ability. That's what he showed that night. So I thought he was a tiny bit flat the other night. I don't mind that. He'll be freshened up over the week. He'll be peaked. Don't worry about that. The matches they're far too good with greyhounds not to have him at his very best. I just wonder how it needs to fall apart early so he can be positioned to actually pick them up. Something is going to escape me and do 28-10, 28-15.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. Joe, I suppose for the machine is, if they do converge and find trouble, he's still going to be behind them. He still has to negotiate a way around whatever traffic is there as well, Joe. So, where does he need to be off the second bend? How far back can he be and win? Or is there a limit on it? Like, obviously he's not going to come from 12 back. But if he was, let's say, 5 back, and let's say Explosive Boy has got loose, does he win?
The night he ran, he chased home Explosive Boy. He made Explosive Boy look like one of the top greyhounds in the world. Explosive Boy. He made him look like he was stalling coming home, and he's not. He's coming home at 12:20. But I suppose from coming home, his sections are probably maybe 2-3 lengths better than the rest. I suppose he has shown a bit of track craft as well, so he can navigate his way around. I suppose. I mean, if he's 3 or 4 lengths off from going up the back straight, you'll be saying he could be definitely there at the finish. As Tommy said, the matches will have this dog absolutely primed. Have no fear that they've done it with Cable Bay, they've done it with Boyle Sports Hero, and this dog will be fresh as a daisy coming into this weekend. I think he's a very, very exciting prospect for the final.
Go on. Sorry, Joe.
No, well done.
No, I was just going to say, though, one of the concerns that you have with him, and where he'll find he has good track trap, but what he does do is he seems to swing very wide. early in the back straight. Now, oftentimes there are dogs in front of him, so he's trying to avoid them or trying to get away around them, or he's coursing it hard or whatever. But he does tend to swing very wide. And you've just the issue here is that you haven't just got early pace inside him and right beside him. You've got early pace in the wide outside as well. Or he's a middle seed Stone Park Leo, so you've got early pace all over. You've got too many dogs in front of him, if you ask me.
Yeah, if he has to step right, step left to avoid traffic, he's all of a sudden losing more momentum on, let's say, a potential likely or early one that gets loose. Let's say Explosive Boy gets loose. He can't afford to step around dogs. He's going to have to find an absolute clean passage, get through it, and be racing from the second he hits that back straight.
Yeah, and that's, I'd say, like if Stone Park Leo's in front of him, which I suspect he will be, he's going to be in the middle kind of course. Where does the machine go then? Does he try to switch outside him? I think that's his natural thing to do, funnily enough. Maybe at this track, it's a natural thing that he likes to kind of swing a little bit wide early in the second, early down the back straight. So if he does that, I don't think he can win the race, because he's going to have to make up too much ground. But in terms of overall ability, he's as good as any of them.
Yeah. Anyway, the two that didn't qualify, Ballymcmurlin, we know all about him at this point. I don't know his trip yet. I'm sure he'll be, he'll be fine over 550 yards, but it's probably 575, 600, and who knows in the future. He's so strong, so dependent on the fence as well. Of course, remember, Luminous Light just didn't show his running the other night, lads, for whatever reason. It just didn't really get involved.
Yeah, it was a pity, and he was improving week in, week out for young Dennis Lennon. But that 28:42 trial around Shelbourne showed that he really had ability, and the penny was starting to drop with him. And I was agreeing with Barry Call. I thought it was a big run at him tonight. Things just didn't go his way, but very, very exciting prospect for the Lennon family. Yeah, and as you say, Ballymcmurlin, well, he's been really consistent throughout the competition, and definitely an exciting prospect for the Dowlings as well going forward.
Yeah, Tommy.
If you ever want an example of where not to receive a bump in a race, that's exactly where Luminous Light received it that night. Got it at the exact wrong spot, and what a bump that, if it had happened maybe 5 yards earlier, might have cost him a length or two. It cost him about 6 or 7 lengths. So the race was all over at that stage. It was just unfortunate, caught it right at the very wrong time, and good luck. Yeah,
good luck is right. Ballymcmurlin, Tommy.
Oh, seriously fast dog. My God, Ian, what he's doing coming home is phenomenal. He's not the finished article, but then again, I think there's a running theme through a lot of Liam Dowling's dogs in this competition. They're showing serious potential. Not quite there yet, but even though Ballymcmurlin is in the final and might have pace in different parts of the race, you'd definitely be taking this dog out of it, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Very fast greyhound. There's no question about it. He's an incredible engine. And again, he's likely raced. There's so much improvement still to come. And from a track craft and even find that length or two early, you never know.
Yeah, well, he was in Tralee and he was in Trap 1 3 times in a row. And then he comes to Limerick, he's in 3, 4, 4, 4.
Yeah, he was unfortunate with the draws in Limerick, all right. There's no question about that. Yeah. They were trying their best for him in Tralee, not in Limerick, I'm afraid.
Come on, now, let's not be suggesting anything here.
No, definitely not. Gentlemen, we were left with an intriguing final. If I had said to you that Explosive Boy was after getting Trap 1 on his own, lovely sing-along Sally out in 4 or 5, Explosive Boy is 4-9. If I had told you Explosive Boy's in 3 and sing-along Sally's in 2, Explosive Boy is 4-9. If I had told you Explosive Boy was any trap outside sing-along Sally, maybe 2's on 4-7. The fact of the matter is he's in Trap 3 and sing-along Sally's in Trap 4. It's the one draw that threw it open to all greyhounds, is what I'm saying. Whereas if Explosive Boy is even drawn one more trap away from her, or on the other side of her, it's a very, very different final that we are reviewing. But because Explosive Boy's in 3, sing-along Sally's in 4, everything is now in the mix. Everything has a better chance than they probably would have if the draw had gone differently. Joe, what way do you see the final?
Well, so much depends on Explosive Boy. If he breaks and does 4 away to the bend, he'll still probably have to navigate around Agent Stanley, but look, he should be winning. But we seen it in the second round. When he didn't break, things just didn't go his way, and he just hadn't stole that march that he's normally used to stealing up the back straight. And they kind of passed him out coming home. I think Deadly Destroyer won that in the second round. But he's been so flawless over the last 2 weeks. If he can repeat 408 and navigate his way around Agent Stanley, that's it. He should be home and hose. And of course, he's running for my own GA club here in his Keaton GA. So there's great excitement during the week about him down around here at home. We've never even got a dog to the Kirby quarter-final over the last number of years, let alone the semi-final. So getting to the final is absolutely massive. So we're all beside ourselves with excitement down here. But look,
Hey,
if he breaks...
Don't be sexist. Am I right in saying that Agent Stanley's running for the ladies in your club?
Agent Stanley's running for the ladies. Well, we have to give him a shot. I was coming to him. So we have two massive chances in the final, but so much depends on Explosive Boy's break. If he breaks, it should be probably all over. But you know, in a final, he's after doing these runs over the last number of weeks. He can take an awful lot out of the dog. Limerick is a tough track, and as I said, there's 100 different scenarios. I'd probably, if I had to pick one, I'd probably go for Explosive Boy. There could be potential for maybe a bit of traffic with Agent Stanley around trap one, maybe. Sing Along Sally is doing about 4:16, 4:17 to the bend. You know, she's on
Joe, by the time to get to that 4:16, 17 marker, this race could be well and truly not over, but it could be well and truly a different contest. You know, it's the first 5 strides we're worried about, not that next 50 or 60 strides.
Absolutely, it's all about the first 5 strides. And you know what? The winner of this race, everything will have to go right from, you know. There's nothing. You cannot win a Kirby unless you tick all the boxes and everything goes right from the night. But if I had to pick one, probably would go for Explosive Boy. I think Shelbourne Park Leo has a massive chance. I was looking at odds checker this morning. He's around 8-1. Definitely going to have a small few quid in him as well, because he's probably the one greyhound who's guaranteed a clean run around the outside, which the rest of them, you could say that it's possible to likely that they're not going to get a clean run. He's the one that's guaranteed a clean run, and if he can improve in his 28-25 next week, I think Marco Donovan's runner will have a massive say in this competition. But if I had to pick one, probably Explosive Boy to repeat his form over the last number of weeks. And Packhill File, of course, in 2013 he came third with Davy Fitz's dog. Was it Droopy's Banner, I think his name was. So, you know, he's won the Irish Derby, he's won the Limerick Ledger. And I've been talking to him on Talking Dogs to be interviewing him, and I know this competition is one that's been on his list for a while, so I think he's going to be thrown the kitchen sink at winning this one, and this dog will be fresh and primed. But it's just a massive final. I'm so excited for it. Like, anything could happen. And like when you see the matches as Packhill File, the Donovans involved, Skippy Gilbert, it's just full of character, full of the cream of the crop of Irish racing, and it's just so exciting. But if I had to pick one, Explosive Boy, but I wouldn't be backing him at 5-4. I think it's too short.
Yeah, funny enough, I thought he might be shade of odds on, Tommy. It's an intriguing final. What's your view?
It's shade of odds on with William Hill. I thought I didn't think Sing Along Sally be 8-1, which is available. No, I don't fancy it, don't get me wrong, but I didn't think she was 8-1.
Funny, the one prices I saw, it was 11-2, and I went, God, I thought she'd be shorter. You know, 8-1 seems very big.
She's 9-2 with one firm, and she's 8-1 with another.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at here. You can get 5-4 Explosive Boy. 9. The Machine is second favourite, which I wouldn't have second favourite. I'd have Stone Park Leo a clear second favourite, purely based on the fact that I think he's going to get a clear run, and the fact that he can do 28-25. For Agent Stanley to win it, I think it needs to be won in 28-40, 28-45, and I don't think that'll be enough. I think there's too many dogs that can get ahead or can get clear and do better than that, or can come from behind and do better than that. For him to, you know, he needs. I think he needs too much trouble. I wouldn't have. He's 11-2. I thought he's kind of short enough of that. He maybe should be slightly bigger than that. I personally think Explosive Boy is going to win. It's not very original. We kind of thought it after he went out to 7-1 after the second round that he had gone far too big. I didn't take any of that 7-1, so I'm not going to take the 5-4. I think he's the most likely.
I had 12 score. I had 12 score at the start, just as an interest. I thought of the ones at the top. He was the one that was probably guaranteed to get around the corner most nights. So I have him, and I have actually Ballet Mcmurlin at 50-1. But you know, he's probably a 33-1 chance on Saturday. He's
25. 25 is best at the moment. Ballet Mcmurlin. Look, I think. For the purpose of what I will be tipping the weekend, I'm sure I'll go Explosive Boy, because I think he's going to be good enough. Agent Stanley might just lose 2-3 spots from being drawn in trap one. That's enough to kind of give an opportunity to Explosive Boy to lead him. Sing Along Sally needs to produce a best ever break, and for Explosive Boy to miss it slightly, I think. So I don't really fancy her.
She needs a combination of a best ever break, and those on her inside to miss it. Which and that's in the juvenile at that time.
It can happen, but I'm not looking at her pricing. And I really want to. She's 8-1 is fine if you fancy her. You're probably thinking I'm getting a bit bigger than I wanted, but than I thought I'd get. But to me, like Stone Park Leo will get the clear run. And the 28-25 in the semi-final is good enough. 28-25 might be good enough to win the final. I don't 28-45 almost certainly won't. You know, so I'm thinking he can do it, and he's got a great draw. Ballet Mcmurlin shouldn't be in his way at any stage of the race. So look, I think Explosive Boy is going to lead all the way. I think Stone Park Leo is going to get a good run at him. I think he might even finish second, and the rest could be a bit of conversions.
Or you're just reading between the lines. You're both sort of siding 3-6-2. Is that the way you're thinking?
Yeah, I look. You're imagining Explosive Boy will do what he's been doing all along, ping the lids and have that extra bit of class that 28:08 he could pop out with a 28-second run. I've actually backed the track record to be broken, which is 27:95, which is.
I think you're struggling, Joe.
I'm struggling. I'm up against it, but you know what? It's a Kirby final, and in fairness, I must give great credit to Tommy Bolton and all his team, and Pat and Andrew down in Limerick. They have the track in immaculate condition. The grass is cut, the flower pots are painted, the wall is painted. Limerick has never been looking so good. I must give great credit to him. The track is going to be in absolute tip-top shape Saturday night, and just who knows, but I'm going with Explosive Boy to show that extra bit of class. But Stone Park Clear with a big run, Agent Stanley definitely with a big run. And the machine, we discussed it already. If he's thereabouts up around the third bend, expect him to have that extra bit of power coming home. And who knows, they've done it with Cable Bay. The matches could definitely do it again with this fella.
Yeah, it's one of those finals where we want a dog to go and win it rather than to be a messy old contest and something,
exactly.
Win it because something else has lost it. Does that make sense? We want a dog to take it by the scruff of the neck, and if that means a dog flashes out, makes every inch of the yard, so be it. Or if the machine comes from behind 5 or 6 dogs or the likes of that to get there in the closing yards to win, well, so be it. We want the dog to go and win the race itself, in the right way rather than, completely luck and messy final, and hopefully all 6 come off safe and sound. Just a reminder that it will be on Racing Post Television live on Saturday night. No Talking Dogs TV this week. That was part of the agreement when Racing Post Greyhound Television are showing the big finals from Ireland. Will be no Talking Dogs TV, but you can watch that online, of course, as well as on Sky Satellite 437. It's also available online. There'll be a link on Talking Dogs on Saturday for those of you wishing to do so. Now we're going to move our attention to Shelburne Park on Saturday night, and we had one of the great finals of one of the great majors. The 600 is, well, I'm going to say it's probably one of my favourites, outside of the Derby, which is pretty much there. But the Shelbourne 600 has been one of the great competitions through the years. It was always my favourite as a kid because you just love that 600-yard trip. We've seen some real stars win it over the years. And another star won it on Saturday night, Ballet Mcmurlin. He didn't have things all his own way. He showed great battling strength. I can see Tommy grinning up the top there. He showed great pace on the back to get the better of Billy's Deavy. He got first crack at Pierno, and that was the main difference. Pierno came right back at him up the home straight, but all of a sudden Beach Avenue arrived from the next parish. The most unbelievable run in defeat, very similar to something like Late Show in his Derby defeat behind Coup Performance, that sort of run, but it really was sensational stuff. An unbelievable final. I spoke to Liam Dowling actually this morning, and his first 3 or 4 lines were, just what a race. It was an unbelievable race, and I feel for the connections of those that were behind me, especially second and third, because it was just one of those races where none of the 3 deserved to lose. But when it comes down to it, Ballet Mcmurlin was the winner. Tommy, given your absolute and 100% devotion to Ballet Mcmurlin, I'm sure you were delighted.
Oh, God, what a night! What a night! No, he just frustrates me because this is what he can do, and then he can when you fancy him in a what you would consider a lesser race, he might find a way to get beaten. He's frustratingly good. But that's what he is to me. It was a cracking race. The 600 never disappoints. I like you, Ian, from the days when we were kids going to Shelbourne watching the 600, and was it the Guinness 600 one time or whatever? Whatever it was. Yeah, like a long time ago. There was a lot of good finals, and it was a cracker. Pierno ran his heart out again. Ballet Mcmurlin, I think once we had him in his sights, when he was able to hold Billy's Diva through the early stages, when Billy's Diva looked like she might get up along the inside, and he was able to hold his position there. I think that was the win of the race. So, in fairness to Pierno, like he did the previous week, he battled on when it's not a case that Ballet Mcmurlin wasn't going on. It was just a case that Pierno again. Like
there was a touch of the Giant's Causeway about him, the racehorse. When he's challenged, he puts his nose down, he just drives. Yeah.
Battle. So like he was carried out on his shield. In fairness to me, he lost nothing in defeat, but which is a bit of a cliche, obviously. But he just gave it all again. I never thought watching the race that Beach Avenue was going to get there, and it kind of surprised me a little bit when I saw the result being 2 short heads, because it was so unlikely that he was ever going to get close enough. Watching all the way through the race, at no point did I think, Beach Avenue is going to win. He's going to pick him up now. He just didn't. So he actually did phenomenally well to get to within 2 short heads. But Ballet Mcmurlin, he deserves the credit. I know I've given out about him a bit over the last few weeks or the last few months or the last year or whatever it is. He's probably going to frustrate me again next week or 2 weeks' time when he's back out again. But credit to him this stage and to Liam Dowling, of course.
Yeah, Joe, you were watching it from home. I'm sure it was every bit as exciting from home as it would have been on the track. Our old friend Rob Catterson did a great job in the final. It got pretty tight. I was afraid Rob was going to fall out of the... Joe's waving at the screen there, and he's on mute for some reason.
He's swiping right on Tinder.
There he is. Now, our old friend Rob Catterson, I thought he was going to fall out the window commentating those last 100 yards. It was an epic final.
Sorry, my phone was really just off. It was one of the most exciting finishes I've ever been. My whole memory of greyhound racing. It was just a massive finish. Ballet Mcmurlin really pulling out all the stops. It's a name like Ballet Mcmurlin. It feels like it's a dog that's nearly 5 or 6. He's been around for so long, But he won the Juvenile Classic last year. He's a Ledger finalist, Derby finalist, and now a Shelbourne Open 600 winner. And credit to him and credit to Dowling. It was a massive performance of Beach Avenue. Look at where he came from. To pass out those kind of greyhounds in the manner which he did was just a phenomenal performance, and credit to Hennessy as well, and Pierno for Tommy Donovan just ran a massive race. I mean, it just shows you the margins of greyhound racing between winning a race like that and coming towards like 200ths of a second. It just shows you how exciting greyhound racing is and the wonderful sport it is. But touch of a late show there. Was just a massive finish and very, very exciting. Like, it was just really real buzz from it,
Yeah, unbelievable. Beach Avenue probably lost it on the opening corner, Tommy. He was sort of 4th, but not too far off the pace, and he just ran off the opening bend. Seemed to just didn't take it as well as he has done in the past. Finds himself 5th briefly, momentarily, goes back 4th, passing Razzle as a peaky into the back straight. But as you said, he never looked like getting there. And then all of a sudden, the last 50 yards, the ground he made up was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it was phenomenal because he did give it away around the first couple of bends. He just seemed to lose his tracking a little bit. And it's funny because you would have imagined in the previous rounds when there were 3 dogs inside him, I think on both occasions, or at least 2, that's where he might have been losing the ground or whatever when he was trying to keep an eye on where he was going and trying to check. But this time he missed the kick slightly. He wasn't as close as he had been in the previous rounds. He lost that ground. He effectively did everything wrong and was beating 2 short heads in a really, really good final. He's still got remarkable pace. It's almost a shame to some degree that he didn't win a final because he's going to struggle to find the right competition from now. That was probably his competition, wasn't it? Is that fair?
Listen, if you're building a dog for 600 yards, he'd be close enough to the perfect one. Maybe give him an extra 2 yards of early speed, but other than that, I just can't remember too many dogs that would ever run as hard from the second bend to the winning line over 600 yards as Beach Avenue.
Would he cope with Mullingar?
I don't know. It's hard to know. It's the third bend. You have to worry about Mullingar rather than anything else. Whether they go down that road or not, I'm not sure. I believe now. It was Pat Healy, I think, or Austin. Maybe it was Austin that did text me in days advance of the final, having spoken on Racing Post TV last week. I said I don't know where he'll go next. Maybe he could end up in Toaster. I think that would be the plan. Now, I've yet to confirm it with Paul Hennessy, who might have something to say about it. But given that he'd be bringing over a team, I would imagine he'd be part of the team. And you never know. He's the type of dog that he does like to pass on the outside. And in Toaster, he'll have room to pass on the outside, especially if he does stay middle to wide. And, given the profile of a lot of the dogs in that competition, it'd be very hard to keep out of the frame if he handles the place. So who knows? We could be talking about it again in a couple of months' time as a potential English Derby winner. You never know. But just an epic encounter. Liam Dowling actually was nearly in disbelief at the run of Beach Avenue in defeat. He just said it was just mind-boggling. It was startling how well he ran in those final 200 250 yards. But Ballet Mcmurlin, a tremendous winner. Joe touched on it there. A Derby finalist last year. He won the Juvenile Classic. He was a beaten favourite in the Ledger. But apart from that, he was also second in the Champion Stakes. He also reached the final of the Kingdom Derby. I just can't remember a dog reaching so many major competition finals. And he is that type of dog. And he will be going to Toaster too if all goes to plan. Liam is going to give him a couple of weeks off. And who's to say he won't be in an English Derby final? There's not an awful lot over there to beat him. I think the dogs he has to worry about are the Irish dogs.
Yeah, and as you said, Toaster is a big galloping track. It will definitely suit the likes of Beach Avenue. You have room to manoeuvre there and hopefully avoid any congestion or any traffic. And Toaster could definitely be attracted to suit him.
It's tight enough, Joe. There's no back straightness. It's only 3 or 4 second back straight compared to a 6 second back straight in Shelbourne Park. But if you actually look at the way he tracked the opening 2 bends around Shelbourne Park in the first 2 or 3 rounds of the stake, that would be a real Toaster sort of maneuver. Stay on the outside of a dog, quicken off the second bend. He could be well suited to it. Tommy, you wanted to give a mention to Brody's Magic. He was stunning the other night again. 18:41. Only Arden Jet has ever gone faster. Joint third fastest time ever at Shelbourne Park. He's a special greyhound.
Oh, what is he? Is he November 17 or something?
Yeah.
Whatever he is, anyway. He's I thought that was as good a run as I had seen. He won a sprinter earlier in the year, and he kind of made hard work of it, and he kind of took advantage of the draw and the whole lot. The other day he was just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. The way he galloped the bends superbly. He was just he strode out as in as good a form as I'd say he's ever been. He was just a joy to watch. That was perfect sprinting to me. You're not at that level. You're not going to be 4 lengths clear in 10 yards. That's just not going to happen when the competition is too good at that level. It was just a phenomenal run. I didn't mention Billy Steve. I must just give her a mention. She was in the final, obviously, and she was a little bit disappointing. She had a tricky draw. She broke well enough. Actually, the draw actually wouldn't have affected her as it happened. She's been beaten in a few finals now. That doesn't, from my point of view, she doesn't lose anything in my mind. She's still a serious bitch. I assume the Oaks will be on her agenda, and that she's freshened up a little bit for that. She'll be a major player in that. She's been taking on the boys. It'll be a bit of a relief to kind of step down a little.
She's on the go for a while. She's on the go for a while now.
Yeah, I'd like to see her freshened up a little bit now, and just they know more about it than I do. I'm not going to be telling them what to do, the Kennedys what to do with the dogs. She's still a phenomenal bitch. I just think if she's freshened up before the Oaks. Now we do know, and we have talked at length at how good the quality of the bitches are, and we've seen a few young bitches that are going to be coming through into that level as well. So, but she still sets quite a standard for her, I would say, and she's probably favourite or second favourite outright for that. She'd have to be. It just like you said, she's been on the go a while, a little bit of freshening up, but she'll be back to her best. But now Brody's Magic for me, that kind of lit up the night for me a little bit, because I think he's a terrific dog. He had shown phenomenal will in the Laurels, and in the Laurels final, where I thought he had absolutely zero chance in the final to be beaten a short head in the neck or something like that from the draw, and what he had to do to get that close. He can do that over 5.25 for a dog who is an out and out sprinter. It shows great heart, and I think he's unbeaten this year. Now it's only maybe 4 or 5 runs, but like he is in his 4th year. He's 3.5 years of age or something. So he's a smashing dog for was it David Murray and Thomas Clean, I think, is who owns it.
Yeah.
What a dog of a lifetime type stuff. He is a sprinter, and maybe there aren't the big money competitions, the big money competitions for the likes of him to win. But what a dog to own.
He's an Irish type sprinter. He's not what you'd call this electric starter, flashes out, does that immediate acceleration. He'll trap on terms. He'll show great pace into the bend to challenge, but from that first bend to the winning line, we saw it in the Laurels last year. The speed he has that carried him to challenge where he was at the third bend. That's where he really does his damage. He just noise grounds up the home straight.
The way he galloped the bend the other night, that took my eye out. I just loved it, because I was kind of thinking back to what had happened earlier in the year when he was not lucky, but just he used his position well to win. This was a different level altogether, and there's no reason why. In fairness to him, they've spaced out his races well this year. Do you know what I mean? They've given him a bit of time. He is 3.5 or whatever. They've given him a bit of time, and it's really shown that they really know what to do and how to handle the dog really, really well. That's as good a run as I think he's produced. I really do.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a look, see if my calendar's here. I assume the Old Island Bridge Sprint is probably on the agenda before a crack at the Dundalk Sprint.
Dundalk again, yeah.
They sidestepped the Zoom, or not the Zoom, the
super
sprint in Cork for obvious enough reasons. I know he'd run Cork very well, but he's taking on a different type of sprinter down there.
It's a different type of sprint. It's a
Shelbourne Park Dundalk sprinter.
It's as you said, it's a bit like the English sprint or the UK sprint. It's a little bit for a sharper type of dog. Even though you would say, actually watching the competition, that some of them are probably dogs that want 400 yards too. They're kind of not absolutely explosive early pacers. He possibly would have a class edge. Let's be honest about it. He is that good, but at the same time, you can understand it. You can understand the reasons behind it too. If he's not, you don't want a dog like that getting any trouble. Give him chances to pick and choose. He's done enough. He's achieved enough and done enough. Pick and choose, and hopefully give him a good chance of winning the Irish Cup.
Yeah, Joe. Obviously, you're a big fan of Brody's Magic. We don't need to touch upon him. An exciting week down in Limerick. Lots to look forward to. Just give all the GA clubs they mentioned there, because it is a big part of the competition.
It's massive, Ian. And there's. Well, I suppose it must be touched on as well as the McManus is the wonderful sponsorship they've come up with. Like it's just huge. 160,000 prize money for the Kirby and 20,000 for the GA clubs. Like it's absolutely huge. So we'll take it from Trap 1. We have Agent Stanley runs for my own ladies club here in Askeaton Ballystein ladies, and I've been talking to a few of them during the week, and those ladies.
I bet you have, Joe. I bet you have. Was it online?
Those ladies know how to party. And I played a bit of music myself, and I was playing a gig for them one night after they actually won. They won a big competition up in Dublin last year, and those ladies know how to party. And I think Agent Stanley has the chance of giving them a reason to party. Trap 2 is the machine for Hospital, Hubbard Sound GA Club, of course, home GA Club of the wonderful Damien Rail. They're very proud GA Club there in Limerick. Askeaton, my own club, has Explosive Boy, the favourite, and fingers crossed for him. Kaleedy GA Club have Sing Along Sally. They had a finalist a number of years ago with Native Chimes, and Kaleedy is a strong hurling club from West Limerick and some fantastic greyhound folk. The old track manager in Limerick, Liam Kennedy, is actually from Kaleedy as well. So it's a massive greyhound area. It's a massive GA area. And it's wonderful to see the crossover, because there is a massive crossover between GA and greyhounds all over the country, so it's great to recognise that as well. St. Sinans have Ballet Mcmurlin, they're a football club out here in West Limerick as well, and Stone Park Leo runs for Castletown, Bally Grand. They had a finalist a number of years ago as well with Borisolino, I'm going to say, I think it was, so they'll be hoping to go one better this year. But yeah, it's very exciting for all them GA clubs involved, because we were just saying down at yesterday, the amount of doors you need to knock on to get 10 grand for a GA club, the amount of work you need to do is just huge. So to be given that through the greyhound community, and with great thanks to the McManus family, it's just massive, and it's great excitement for them as well.
Here, Joe. I think that's a good way to sign off. Lads, it's been real. We're going to see the Kirby winner crowned on Saturday night. As yet, we don't know what it is, but I can promise you one thing. We're set for drama. And if, it's anything like the Shelbourne Open 600 final the other night, well, we'll be talking about it for some years to come. Listen, thanks for joining us, Joe, Tommy. We'll see you again very shortly indeed. But that's it for me now on this Talking Dogs on a Monday evening. Hopefully you've enjoyed our chat over the last hour or so. We've lots to look forward to in the racing front over the coming weeks and months. And again, that Con Annie Kirby Memorial on Saturday night, that final, well, it should be pretty special. You can watch it on Racing Post Greyhound Television. I'll be putting up an online link on Talking Dogs on Saturday morning also. So join in, tune in, and hopefully, well, we'll see an unbelievable final. But that's it for us tonight on Talking Dogs on Monday. We'll see you soon.